I see barbers in their 50s and 60s still cutting hair for the same prices when they started.
My parents, how they owned their shop, it was very hard to get people in the shop. I was actually always intimidated by it. If I don't put in the action or I don't execute, it's all just dead, you know?
Do you think that you could have achieved what you have reached today without mentors?
Social media has been around, right? I need to make myself known where someone in Florida or someone in another country could know me.
Let's say there's a kid watching today, you have his ear. He's struggling to make $1. What do you recommend to him?
When you're pushing that rock up the hill and it's like, oh, it's slow, it's slow, it's slow. But then once you get over and it rolls over, it just...
What was the one video that started to get you the momentum? The point where it was like... Today I have with me an Instagram famous barber. His haircuts are known for going viral. He has his own hair product line. He goes by Jacob Joseph, aka Jjay the Barber. Thank you so much for making time and hoping to shop up to me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So the first time I ever heard about you, this was years ago before we even talked. I was with one of my boys, a mutual friend of ours, and we're talking about entrepreneurship, and he's telling me, dude, you have to meet my cousin. And I go, well, why? What's up? What's up with him? What's the story? And he says, when we're out, Jacob is on his phone editing videos to have content ready to go to grow his brand. And I'm like, okay. And it's obviously not BS that he was saying that, to see where your social media and your YouTube channel has grown to over 100,000 subscribers, both on Instagram and YouTube. So obviously he wasn't BSing. And I was like, okay, this is a guy that I have to talk to. So I'm glad that we got to get this together right now.
Appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So let's dive into the first question, right?
All right.
So usually, a lot of people are born with either a lazy nature or an ambitious nature. A lot of people with the ambitious nature, they start off very young. They want to go make a quick buck. So the kids, what they do is they go babysit, they go and collect tin cans and recycle them for the dollar back in the day, go flip shoes, whatever you have it, right?
Yeah.
When you were younger, what was your first entrepreneurial venture and what age did you start?
That's a good question because it's funny. I never really had any type of entrepreneur ventures at a young age. I never did anything like that. The one thing I did have was basketball. I always played basketball and I was very I loved the sport of basketball, and so I kind of channeled all my energy towards basketball. So as I grew up older, going to high school, being a Syrian, and we're not the biggest people, so kind of knew I wasn't gonna make it to the NBA or anything like that. So as I got older, I went, into business at college. I went to college, got my business degree, and that's technically when I first had my entrepreneur venture, because that's when I found barbering and started doing barbering. So it wasn't until I was 21, 22 is when I actually started entrepreneurship. I was actually always intimidated by it, because when I was going to school, they were asked okay, you're gonna be a business major, right? What's your concentration? Do you want to do accounting? Do you want to do marketing? Do you want to do entrepreneurship? All these different ones. And always when they said entrepreneurship, I was kind of yeah, definitely not that. I don't want to do that. I'm more a math guy. Let me do accounting or something like that. That's actually what I went to college for. I went and got my accounting degree. So it's kind of weird. But one thing I did kind of see between barbers and entrepreneurship, a lot of barbers that I've known and that are pretty successful in the barber industry, they always had a sports background to them. One of my, Daniel, his name's Deluxe. I was going to talk about him too. He was a baseball player. He actually went to college and played baseball, but then he dove into barbering after that. Another guy named Chris Bazio, he was actually going to college as well, was playing basketball at a college level. He started cutting in his dorms and then kind of went down the barbering industry, and now he's got his own, it's called Tune 45. It's a big old brand, hair brand. So it's kind of different than most people, I would say, because I didn't have the early entrepreneurship, but that's pretty much when I kind of started the whole entrepreneur venture.
Right, yeah, that's the same thing with me too. I was saying, people with a natural lazy tendency. That was me when I was just video games when I was a kid,
same.
The natural young boy upbringing, mess around with friends, and then I was a late bloomer too. I started around 18, 19 with my first entrepreneurial venture, so I totally get you on that. So you actually touched on something that I wanted to ask you next. This question can go either way. I'm curious what you think is more likely.
Okay.
A lot of barbers that I've noticed with being with my barber for the last 6-7 years is that a lot of them are very entrepreneurial. But then I also noticed that a lot of entrepreneurs might be going into barbering. Which one do you think is more likely? If entrepreneurs become barbers or barbers turn into bigger entrepreneurs?
Let's go with that one. I believe people become barbers and they kind of start to run their own business without even really knowing it. And then they kind of start diving in because then they start noticing how they could kind of keep expanding because then, social media is a big thing nowadays. So if they start building a presence on social media, like, okay, they start doing that and like, okay, I want to kind of maybe come out with some hats and start selling hats with my brand or my name on there. And then they kind of start seeing like the entrepreneurship start, unfolding.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say Barber's into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that this got the barber seal of approval when I asked that question. So I asked my barber that, and he said, listen, man, I don't have a regular job. I don't work for a corporation. I don't have a 401k set for me. There's no matching for my 401k. They're not giving me stocks. I have to go create that for myself. And he said, I see barbers in their 50s and 60s still cutting hair for the same price as when they started. And he's like, I want to retire one day. So I can totally see why you would branch out, especially with social media, which is something that I do want to talk to you about because you've been very successful about that. But so can you speak on your product line that correlates with what you just said? Because you started off in college, moved to barbering, and now you move to the next entrepreneurial venture, which is your barber line. Can you talk about how you got that started, how you scale it?
Yeah. So I was, obviously cutting hair and started recording my videos and started making videos on, cutting hair. I would use products here and there. So I had a lot of sponsorships hit me up and asking me, can you use this hair product or can you use this clipper and things like that. And it was cool at first, I was like, dope, like, this brand wants to work with me. So I started doing that, did that for about a year, I would say, of like, sponsorships and things like that. And then I started like, when COVID hit, which COVID I feel like is like a big blessing or it could have been a very a big curse for many people. For me, unfortunately, it was a good blessing because in that time where I wasn't really cutting hair for a few months, I did a lot of research. I had other barbers that started their brand as well and talked to them. I did my research, tried finding manufacturers and things like that where I could work with and start to make my product come to life. So I kind of cut out all sponsorships that dealt with my brand. So I cut all those and I did the research, started looking for manufacturers and things like that, and then came out with the products I wanted to, what I wanted in them, the ingredients, all that. And then once I made that come to life during that COVID period of time, I started using my platform, which I was doing for other brands, but I decided let me do that for my brand. And then now I started scaling that. And it's a learning process. I learned a lot during that process because it's kind of a big jump starting your own brand, and because everything's confusing. You're trying to do the marketing, you're trying to do the orders, the fulfillments, and all this different parts. So it was a big learning curve. I'm still learning. I'm only been doing it for like 2 years. I'm grateful for where I'm at with that, but there's definitely a lot more growth that I need to put into it.
So at what point were people reaching out to you for sponsorships? Was it a certain like Instagram follower level or YouTube subscriber level?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say I started, I don't know, I might get my dates wrong, but I believe it was like end of 2018, like December time. That was been like probably like 4 months into me creating content daily. I made it like a big goal of mine to like post content every day, don't miss a day. I did that straight for a whole year, but within like the first, I would say 3 to 4 months is when I had my first sponsorship. It was Barber Nova. They were like they had scissors, they had a bunch of like barber tools, straight razors, things like that. And they reached out to me, and that was the first sponsorship.
Do you remember how many followers you had at the time? Rough estimate.
Yeah, I want to say over 10K.
Okay. So that's probably the level that you'll start getting people to reach out to you, right?
Yeah, I would say like where they're going to start wanting to like pay you for your time and for your videos. Before, you might be in a couple thousands, and people might be like, hey, I want to send you something, can you use it? And then, if they like it, I'll give you a promo code, things like that,
Yeah.
But as you grow, then, it's worth your time because you got to make content for them, and that takes extra time outside of, cutting hair or whatever your career.
So for your products, you said that you went out, you picked the ingredients, the chemicals that are being used, and then you didn't just find an existing product, slap your label on it, and then send it out to people. You actually took the time to create your own version of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they had like samples of what they already have, but I told them like these are the type of ingredients I wanted there, and then kind of formulated it that way, and then sampled and tested and tried.
Yeah. If you guys are liking what you're seeing so far, leave a comment down below what your favorite part is. Leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much. So we were talking about this a little before we started recording, behind the scenes, and we were mentioning mentors. So I know that you had influences in your life, but do you think that you could have achieved what you have reached today without mentors, or was it because of people like Chris Bosio, Wade the Barber, S&D, those types of influences? I know that you took barber courses.
Yeah.
do you think that without those, you still would have gotten to the level that you did today? Maybe later, like it was taking you longer, or no, you needed those people in your life. That was a move that you decided to make that was good for you.
That's a great question. I would say for sure I would need them, because if I didn't, they wouldn't probably not opened my eyes to things. Maybe later on, maybe when I was in my 30s, I probably would have eventually like started picking things up, because social media now or YouTube, you can learn a lot of stuff just off YouTube.
Yeah.
But when you're a mentor, you get to like listen to them, you get to hear their experience, you get to talk to them, you get to like build a relationship with them.
Right.
So that definitely speeds things up. And then like I could pay for all these courses and sponsorships, or not sponsor, sorry, like courses and mentors. But then if I don't put in the action or I don't execute, it's all just pretty much dead. There's no, they could tell me all this information, but if I don't put it to use, nothing happens. So I think a mixture of my ambitiousness and my discipline, plus with the information they gave me, is what helped me scale and speed up the process. But definitely, they did speed up and open my eyes. So without them, I don't think I would be in this position I would be in today.
At what point did you decide to yourself, okay, I need to go out and seek these type of people and their advice?
So pretty much after I graduated college, I decided I wanted to do barbering, right? So that first year, my goal was just like, let me get really good at cutting hair. Let me figure out how to cut hair, how to give a good fade, how to do scissors. Beards I kind of already knew, because I always was doing my own beard growing up. So I had an idea for beards. I was just kind of doing it on another person. Yeah. But I just want to learn as much knowledge as I can within hair. How to do the best haircuts and just keep evolving. So that first year I just took, watched a bunch of YouTube videos. That's how I came across Chris Bosio. I learned how he kind of structured his business and how he structured his clientele and how he was with them. So I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. And then I would, barbers in here would be like, hey, there's a guy in Stockton, he's doing a class, you want to go there? It's like, yeah, I'm the hell down. I want to see what they're doing, because I would follow them and see what they're doing. So that whole first year, I really just took it serious just to learn as much as I can. And then the second year, I was like, I live in a small town, Turlock, in California. No one usually knows where Turlock is at. So I was like, I need to make myself known where someone in Florida or someone in another country could know me. And that's, I always knew Instagram. And that's when I came across Deluxe's, Daniel, his course about how to create content and go viral. So then I took his course, and then that whole year I took my dedication to just make as much content as I can and get myself out there.
Yeah, so I want to touch about social media, but prior to that, I have a quick question about the actual barber courses. Mm-hmm. So you were already cutting hair, and were you already good at what you were doing, and you said to yourself, I want to go and get better at cutting hair, or no? Did you start from getting a mentor right from the start when you started cutting hair, and that was when you learned how to do the way that you do it now, and you built up your clientele that they know, okay, I'm going to go to this guy, I know I'm going to get a fresh haircut every single time?
Definitely, I struggled in the beginning, I would say. I wasn't great, I wasn't horrible though. I could give you a good haircut. Just because both my parents, they own a hair salon, so I was always kind of around hair. I always understood clippers and things like that. So I was good, but YouTube really helped me. So I didn't have a mentor, but just seeing, the YouTube videos and people giving out, clean cuts, it set my mind to, okay, this is what a haircut should look like. Right, yeah. This is how the face should look. This is how the hair should lay on top. This is the styles that you should go for. Yeah. So YouTube definitely helped a lot. And so later on, the first mentor I really had was probably Deluxe, and that was for the social media aspect. For cutting hair, I didn't really have a mentor, because there's so much content on YouTube that it would be nice to have someone here next to you and like tell you different things, but you kind of figure that out over time with repetition. So I'll say mentoring for cutting hair, not really, but for social media, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the thing is that what I always tell people is that they always say, like, where can I go find a mentor? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if you can't find someone in person, you can always get an online mentor. And I'm not saying go hire someone online, on a website or whatever. You don't have to pay for courses. You can go find content for free if you really desire to learn how to do something the right way and be better than somebody else, your competition, make your own name. You can do everything for free at today's age.
100%.
Everything's out there. All the resources are there. You just have to put in the time to go get it.
Exactly.
And sometimes it does take a COVID pandemic to make people realize and change course. Mm-hmm. I want to change up what I'm doing. I want to go figure out something else. I want to go get better and craft my skills. And now I have the time to do it because I'm trapped. I have the time. I'm locked in my house, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So with social media now, you have taken these courses. What exactly did you learn from those courses that you could share really quickly that you think was key for you to grow to where you are now? And I have a follow-up question in regards to that. Okay. But I basically want to ask, Do you think barber courses and learning off YouTube was more beneficial, or the social media courses were more beneficial to your career?
I think they were both, obviously very important, because I could create all this content on video, but if my haircuts aren't presentable or aren't looking good, no one's really gonna, come towards me. So the mix, that's why the first year I really want to focus on cutting hair. Let me get my skills the best. But then on top of recording, it made me even better, because you pull out your phone to record, your camera doesn't lie to you. You see what you see.
Yeah.
So I would pull out my camera to like record the end of the haircut, and I'm like, oh shoot, like this part's really dark. I gotta fade that out a little bit more. Things like that. So I think they both go hand in hand. I don't think one's really more important than the other, but I think you would need to really go and get a mentor for the course. I mean, mentor for like social media aspect. Cutting hair, you could learn a lot of that, and honestly, it just comes down to reps.
Yeah. So what would be like that one thing that you learned from the social media courses where you're like, okay, this is great right here for me to grow on my own?
So it wasn't really like one thing. It was mainly just like the consistency of posting content. But obviously, when you're posting the content, like in my scenario, it's cutting hair. So I was making sure I'm getting good clips of the hair before, maybe some satisfying clips of cutting the hair down, and then just showing the after results and just being consistent with that format.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, because a lot of people think especially barbers, when they go to cut hair, they're trying to like teach. Like, oh, I put my bald guideline in, I'm blending. But to a normal person, they're not really trying to learn how to cut. They just want to see something satisfying. So you show someone with really shaggy hair, playing with their hair, show some cutting it, like taking away the long hair, and then just boom, show you how they look after. And people are more attracted to that. So I think that, and then keep being consistent, was probably the biggest thing I took from the course.
Right. Yeah. So that was the thing I wanted to touch on that you hit right on the head. ASMR videos.
Yeah.
You figured it out how to bring in multiple audiences, because typically what you think of a barbershop, it's a bunch of guys, maybe rugged men, barbershop talk.
Yeah.
And then when you do haircut videos, like you said, if you do tutorial videos, that it's a very small niche of people that's just barbers that can relate to.
Exactly.
But you figured something out, your ASMR videos, where now you can bring in everybody. It's not just exclusive to men. It's not just exclusive to barbers. ASMR has grown up in a way where women can relate to it and enjoy the content. Men can. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's that satisfying factor of crisp lines and getting things cleaned up.
Exactly.
So that's something impressive that you figured out how to bring in a bigger audience to view your videos.
And that's where other platforms are better for like the teaching. Like YouTube's a great place to teach. That's where I learned to drive stick shift. That's where I learned how to cut hair. So this is kind of going off topic, but that's kind of where I took the teaching part of it. So I had the satisfying ASMR videos of cutting hair, but then people were asking me like, hey, how do you cut hair, or can you help me? So I was like, let me make a YouTube page, or take that content, throw it on a YouTube. So it just depends on the platform, Right. Instagram's great, quick. YouTube's more longer videos. So it just really depends on your audience and who you're trying to really attract. Yes. That's another thing I learned from the course as well.
The audience.
The audience, knowing your audience.
Who your audience is. Yeah, that's a key thing too. That's very important as well. And at what point did you tell yourself, you answered this briefly, but I kind of wanted to get a very specific answer from you, because I think it's important. Like we were talking about, again, before we started, when we first met, how important it is to be, if you're not on social media, you basically don't exist at today's age.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be missing out on a lot of opportunity if you don't have that brand. At what point did you tell yourself in your career, I got to get on social media, I got to build this brand up, and I have to market it correctly?
I would say right at the beginning, even before I came, like when I was making that decision between should I go do my accounting and get a career in that path, or should I become a barber, I really knew I would, because at that time it was 2017, 2018, so social media has been around, right? I was already watching other barbers, because I was always into beards, so I was watching other beard videos, other barber videos about, on social media. So I knew if I was going to go do this barbering thing, because I always had a bad, look on barbering, like, oh, you could go do accounting, have a great job, 401k, all this stuff, or you're going to go work behind a chair all day and not have any of those benefits and just cut hair.
Right.
But that's what people looked at it. I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like as a vehicle to where it could get me to my end result, which I want, to pretty much take a skill that I have and just grow with it as much as I can. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't, the sky is, you probably, there you go, the sky's the limit. Yeah. So like, that's what I saw of it. So I was like, okay, if I do barbering, I'm gonna need to become and have a social media presence, because that's gonna help me get out there more and help give me opportunities that I have today.
That's the second thing I think he figured out very quickly, besides the ASMR, is getting on social media right away. Because I know a lot of barbers who have been cutting hair for a very long time. There's nothing against them, but they just don't record themselves, and they may think it's an inconvenience to do that for their customer because they want to be in and out really quickly. But like when you build a clientele and you have returning customers, they actually feel like happy that you're posting them and also flexing their haircut. Like I remember like me and my boys, we would have like not a competition, but it would be a flex for our barber to post us on his social media, be like, hey, look at my cut, he posting that's how professional he is, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the client, it's a win for you as well, and it's a win for the people viewing the haircuts.
Exactly.
So,
everyone's winning.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the one video that started to get you the momentum? Do you remember that? What was like the point where it was like pop?
It was actually my boy Dan, Bays Dan. I was already posting a lot of videos like kind of before that because people always think like, oh, that one video is gonna go viral and everyone's gonna love you and you're gonna get all these followers. But it's not that. It's more about the consistency. I never really worried about the followers. My goal wasn't to get like, oh, I want to have 100,000 followers. I want to look cool. Like I never really cared about that. I was more about like I want to get myself out there so people know who I am, so I can have opportunities later in life that will set me up for my family and future things like that. So I was posting pretty consistent. I'll get some videos here and there that would get 10,000, 20,000. But I posted a video on Dan, and that video I knew was gonna hit because my editing was always a little bit off. It was a little bit slow, and this was what my mentor was telling me. He's like, you need to kind of speed it up. It's too slow. Like you got 3 seconds to catch someone's attention, or they're gonna be gone. So that video, I was okay. I'm gonna really focus on quick clips, satisfying. And that was my first video that got 100,000 views. I remember everyone was like, oh my God, it's about to hit 100,000. And like, it was just like a very exciting moment. So I'll say after that video, because it clicked in my head, I was like, okay, this is the type of content I need to start making. And this is what I need to start focusing on. So that's what I did. And after that, it was just like another 100K video, 70,000 views, 50,000 views, and everything was just building up. And then when you're consistent, keep posting every day, it's just like momentum. When you're pushing that rock up the hill and it's like, oh, it's slow. But then once you get over and it rolls over, it just keeps speeding up. And at that point, it's up to you to keep going or kind of let off the gas. And I was like, I'm going to keep going because, it was satisfying to get that accomplishment.
Do you get recognized for being an Instagram famous person now?
I wouldn't say I'm Instagram famous because it's nothing like, it's 100,000, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in a small town, but a couple times here and there, like I was at taco trucks and some kid's like, hey, you're that barber that makes videos, right? I was like, yeah, thanks, bro, that's dope. Yeah. That was probably the one time like here in the city, maybe another time something like that. But like, no, it's not like I'm going to LA and people are like, oh, that's Jjay Bearded Barber, something like that. But when I go to like hair shows, like some people come up to me like, hey, bro, I've been following you for a long time. I really appreciate your work.
In your own community.
Yeah. And then also, people like that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So you got your degree, you went to college, you went through the traditional route. Now you're obviously a barber, you have your own product line, you do social media. If there was another field, let's say, or other types of content you would be creating content on today, what would it be besides cutting hair?
It would probably be either like fitness or basketball.
Okay.
Like training. I just love helping people. And like I like seeing people go from not knowing what to do or like not being so good at something and then seeing them excel and become, really good at it. Yeah. So like me and my cousin Mark, we always go to the gym and he said he wants to start coming to the gym with me. So I've really seen him progress from like not knowing what to be at the gym and then being absolute beast in the gym now. And that's just like satisfaction. I just like love seeing people grow. And I love basketball, so I would love to like be able to train someone in basketball and like see their growth within basketball, or even fitness. So one of those two. I love activities. I love being active. So probably be basketball or fitness.
That's great that you say that because we actually have something for you today. If we could please get that, Steven. I'm very glad that you brought up basketball. This kind of ties in perfectly. So
thank you. You guys have, I don't know what it is, but
so. I heard through the grapevine, even though you're a boy from Turlock, small town, that you like the Lakers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So we got this custom piece done for you.
No way.
If I can get it out.
No way.
So it's the Lakers home court with your logo and my logo and today's day of the interview to commemorate this day.
Hell yeah.
Got together, got straight
right up there.
Yeah, so this is yours.
Hell yeah.
It was done by my cousin from Arizona.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Her name is Victoria Mamouk. She signed it on the back. She took a lot of time to put that in. She's very
What was her name?
Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria.
Victoria from Arizona.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Yeah,
that. I wasn't
absolutely.
expecting that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's like badass.
So we mentioned before that you recently hit a huge milestone.
Yeah.
YouTube, right there, you got the 100,000 subscribers flag.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Not a lot of people achieve that thing, man. That's a huge milestone for you.
It's pretty surreal, honestly, because growing up, I used to always watch YouTube videos, like from 14, like how to grow a thick beard, how to shape up your beard, how to, just beard videos. And then I came across like FouseyTube and all those other YouTubers, and I remember them getting their 100,000 subscriber and getting the button, and then him getting his million. So I was always like, I don't know, it was always in the back of my head, like that would be so sick to have one, but I never really thought I would, because I was like, what content am I gonna post?
Right.
But then, I went to college, after college, went to barbering, and then during COVID again was when I started doing the whole YouTube. I was like, let me focus on making more longer videos and posting on YouTube since I have some extra time. And 2 years later, I finally got my plaque, and I don't know, it's just crazy to actually see it in person, and just all your hard work will pay off if you just stay consistent and just be disciplined and really believe in what you want and have a why too. I always tell people like you have to have a why in what you're doing things. You know what I mean? So if you don't have a why, then it's very easy to get unmotivated, to kind of slack off, or to be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. So I always tell people make sure you know what your why is. It could be obviously the bigger the better, because then it kind of makes you keeps you motivated. But it's crazy to see it. Honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's cool. I always want
cooler
to.
person than those videos.
It's always sick, honestly.
So is that somewhere you're gonna be hanging in the barber shop, or is that gonna be going right home?
I think because I've been trying to change my kind of content on my YouTube. I want to have like whenever I'm doing like intro videos, or if I'm talking about something specific, I want a nice setup, kind of like how you do with your videos. So I'm thinking about having a nice setup in my room. Because three of my sisters moved out, so now I have hella room in the house.
Your studio space.
Yeah, I got all of them. So I'm gonna build like a little studio spot in one of the rooms, and I'll probably have this in the background or something like that.
Sweet, yeah, that's a perfect place to put it. Cool. So I got a couple more questions for you, and then
of
wrap
course.
this thing up.
Yeah, of course.
So, what's the end goal for you? We talked about school. We talked about getting a degree. We talked about being a barber. Do you see opening up your own shop as in the future, or do you want to go a completely different route?
So I've always had a goal to open up my shop, but after being in the barber industry and seeing how shops are and stuff like that, they're great, but a lot of people go with in the mindset of like, it's a moneymaker, like, oh, barbershop, moneymaker. If I open 7 barbershops, which is a great thing. I'm not trying to knock that, because it's a business and you can do that. But for me, just more responsibility, more stress, because I see like my parents, how they own their shop. It was very hard to get people in the shop. I see other shops, you always got to keep them filled and make sure people are happy. So like my end goal, it's kind of changed. I was thinking about maybe doing a school like later on, like maybe like a Paul Mitchell or something like that, but that's more later in the goal. But I would maybe like to open up shop later on in my life, to where I could have the brand all set up right. Whenever the brand's all where I feel like it's at a good spot, I'd like to open up a shop possibly, to where I could bring in barbers in here, and it's not just like a shop where people just come in, cut hair and leave. It's more of a culture. It's more of like we have like a culture, and we're trying to get to our destination. I want to be able to help like the younger generation as they come up and wanted to do barbering. I could help them, figure out, their finances, help them understand finance literacy, and help them understand, yeah, you might not have a 401k, but you could open up an IRA account, which is the same thing. You know what I mean? A lot of barbers, they come in, shop, they make money, they see all this cash, they just want to spend it. But, yeah, you say you made $100 that day, right? Why don't you throw $20 on the side, throw it into your IRA account, and then so by the time you're 65 or 50, this is just the safe, conservative route.
Super safe.
You know what I mean? Throw $20 in there every day. By the time you're 65, you're gonna have millions of dollars in your IRA account, and you don't have to cut hair for your rest of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because after that, you're beating your body down over time and time cutting, because it gets tiring. You cut 10 to 15 people a day, 5 days a week. Yeah, and it's tough. So that's kind of more my end goal, is to eventually get to that part where I could help all these other people and help kind of just elevate the barber industry. That's why I got elevate on the hats and the back of the shirts. I just want to elevate the barber industry, and I got that motivation from like Chris Bozzi and all those guys, because that's what he's really trying to do, and he's doing a great job. That's because like I would say I'm one of his prodigies. You know what I mean? I used to watch him, and now I have that same kind of mindset. I want to keep doing that. So if you get a bunch of barbers doing that, I feel like eventually the barber industry is going to be a lot more elevated than where it's at.
Yeah, very nice, man. And one thing I wanted to just quickly touch on the financial side. I don't really give financial advice, but just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not a financial advisor in any way. So
Yeah,
you
you got to clarify that.
Yeah, don't sue me. But a Roth IRA is in some ways better than a 401k because it's not taxable.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
when you retire and you take all that money out and it's compounding over time too, it does the same exact thing as a 401k, but now you're doing it yourself. I mean, of course, it's better to have both of them.
Yeah.
If you can only have one, might as well start an IRA.
Exactly.
A Roth.
So
And
we're
put a mutual
really good
fund.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of money,
Mhm.
to wrap this up, there's a kid watching.
Crypto. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's push it out right now.
Yeah,
Or maybe it'd be a good time to
Actually,
borrow,
it is
I
a
don't
good
know.
time, but it's
Yeah.
always better when it's out. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Let's say there's a kid watching today. You have his ear. He's struggling to make $1.
Mhm.
What are you recommending to him?
I would say honestly, just find a skill that you're good at. Everyone has skills. You might not like unveil it yet, because I always thought like what am I gonna do? I don't really have any skills. I just play basketball. Like I never knew anything else. But I would just say find a skill, stay very consistent with it. Even if there's days where you're not making any money or whatever you're doing, you can't catch anything. As long as you have like the characteristics, be consistent, be disciplined, and have goals, and just keep doing that. You'll see the the light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll eventually start making $1. Then you stay with that same game plan. You're gonna start making $5 or whatever, and it's just gonna keep compounding. It's gonna keep momentum's gonna keep rolling, and then eventually you're gonna be like, wow, look how far I've came.
Right.
So I think it's more on that point is the way to look at it.
Consistency is everything, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on here. It was
Thank
a
you so
blessing.
much.
Thank you.
Cool.